MEDICOM Toy MAFEX Spider-Man Black Costume Comic Version, or Black Suit Spider-Man, or Symbiote Spider-Man, whatever you like to call him, was released on the 17th of October and retails for about 9,000 yen, or roughly $65 before shipping. And damn, when you think about it, the yen sure is taking a hit. Anyway, I'm going by the current conversion rate, so give or take a couple of dollars, depending on what time and place you pick him up from. And that really does matter, because you'll probably be getting that Black Suit Spider-Man for that $65 if you pre-ordered him through Army, but I guess pay $100+ if you bought him through Big Bad Toy Store. And that's not throwing any shade at BBTS, just giving you guys the facts. I bought my copy from a local store right here in Japan, but pretty much everywhere I look, this guy is sold out. So if you missed out on him this time, I probably wouldn't advise paying the crazy aftermarket prices he will definitely be going for. Rather, I'd wait for the reissue, which I'm sure Mafex will do eventually with this Spider-Man, as they've done in the past with the original as well. I don't know, guys. I think this is it. Figure of the year? Don't know about that. There are a lot of strong contenders for 2022. Top 10 of the year, I can definitely see that for a lot of collectors. But the best interpretation of Black Suit Symbiote Spider-Man in 6-inch figure form, in that category, I think we've got a winner, chicken dinner. Yes, Mafex has done it again, at least for now anyway, and that's after a week of me having this guy in hand, posing him constantly, taking photos, leaving him around the house, picking him up again, so the initial honeymoon stage has definitely passed, but I still love this figure and I think it's an exceptional release. Yes, I know it's not really anything we haven't seen before, as the base body is basically a repaint, retool of the original comic version Spider-Man, but as far as repaints and retools go, this one definitely hits all the right spots. So right off the bat, I know you're going to hear this a lot, but the plastic quality on this figure feels a lot better than the original red and blue version. I don't know if Mafex are using different plastics or switched up factories, but it feels a lot more substantial and I guess less fragile. I mean, it's not Marvel Legends tough, but it definitely has a nice premium touch and feel to it. I heard a lot of good things about the Mafex Ben Reilly, which I missed out on, but it could very well be similar to that release. Anyway, nice plastic quality. So I've always been a big fan of the more slender build of Mafex's original Spider-Man, although most of us, I think, can kind of agree that maybe the hands and feet could be a tad bigger, not too much, but maybe just a smidge. Still, I think proportion-wise, it's probably one of the best, if not the best, for my tastes anyway. It mixes that athletic, agile superhero look without making the body too skinny or overly buff. So it definitely leans towards your more 90s inspired Mark Bagley or Todd McFarlane interpretations of Spider-Man. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's stylized, but you can definitely see the art style from that era reflected in this figure. Even with all the black, which has a beautiful matte finish, you can still see the muscle definition in the arms, the thighs, the abs, and the chest areas. Obviously, design-wise, it's not the most complicated Spider-Man suit ever. It's black with a big white spider symbol on the front and the back. But what I think Mafex has done here, and it's going to be extremely hard to pick up on camera, is that, like Venom, there are subtle shades of blue all over the body. It's more of a midnight blue rather than a lilac color they used with Venom, and you can see it pretty clearly in hand on the shoulders, the arms, the thighs, the lower half of the legs, the crotch section, the neck, the feet, and on the heads that it comes with. I guess more so on the one than the one it actually comes packaged in. I'm just going to call this head the angrier head because it's, what it kind of looks like to me. But I'm sure it's based off some specific artist. But for this review, we're just going to go with angry head. And yes, he does have blue feet, whether it's comic accurate or not. I personally am totally cool with it. In fact, I dig it. It's kind of that one point of the figure that really makes it pop in the otherwise sea of black. And again, if we are talking about comic accuracy, Spider-Man has been portrayed with blue feet, whether they're just highlights or actually colored blue. I'll leave that up to you. But I'm sure if you're not feeling it, it's an easy fix to cover them up. Still, I really like the teal blue feet. Now to that white symbiote symbol, which is sculpted in, and I've heard a couple of people or a couple of reviewers having some paint trouble with their personal copies, but for my copy at least, I haven't had any major problems. I mean, it's not crispy clean perfect, but it's pretty close. It gets a little rough around the thin areas of the spider legs, but other than that, the whites are fairly even. I mean, they're painted, fairly even. There aren't any light or dark patches. There isn't any significant paint bleed or smudging. And after extensive posing, it seems to be holding up. So we get two alternate masked heads, which I'm sure all of you comic experts can tell me which head is inspired by which artist. And though it isn't a huge difference between the two, you can definitely see the variation in the shape of the eyes. But what I love about these heads is that you can clearly see all the details in the eyes and the nose. It's all sculpted in, it doesn't feel flat, and you can definitely see he is frowning under that mask. It's a simple detail, but I think adds a lot to what is, again, a pretty simple design. As far as quality control goes, the biggest issue with my copy personally is probably the shoulder, the left shoulder, which seems to pop out, a little bit easier than the right. I mean, it's not loose or anything, and it really isn't a problem unless, I push it too far. But other than that, the not so perfect paintwork on the symbiote spider symbol, I guess the magnetic feet and hands that don't really support the weight of the figure. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, there really isn't anything besides those couple of issues, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't really detract from the overall figure. As always, hopefully that's a good sign for the rest of you. So check for those few things and fingers crossed. Okay, so let's take a look at Symbiote Spider-Man's articulation, and he's got all of the articulation that we all know and love from the original Mafex comic book Spider-Man, or the Ben Reilly Spider-Man, or pretty much any Spider-Man release that Mafex has put out since that original comic book version. So if this is your first time, I'm going to take it slow because there is a lot of good stuff with this figure. I feel that this is, for me personally, one of my favorites in terms of having a really well articulated figure that also doesn't sacrifice the aesthetics. I know Hasbro is doing a fantastic job with their Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man, and I know Sentinel also has an amazing articulation setup with their Peter B. Parker. But for me, in terms of, I guess, aesthetics, the proportions, and just pulling off all those essential Spider-Man poses that you would want a Spider-Man figure to do, I think Mafex has it pretty much down pat. So we're gonna take a look at the head first up, and yeah, he can look all the way up. Fantastic, great for those diving poses. And he can look all the way down as well. You got your side to side, still a little bit tight, still a little bit factory fresh, and left and right tilt as well. That's fantastic tilt. The head and the neck joint are separate pieces, so you're going to get that head articulation with the head itself, and of course with the neck to assist it. So with the shoulders, he's got butterfly joints, and you can bring Spider-Man's shoulders all the way in front of his chest for those double web swinging poses. And you can even go a little bit further than that. There we go. Crossed arms right there. Really good. You can hit those T poses, no problems, way past 90. Fantastic. You've got 360, and his arm popped out. Sorry guys. 360 there at the shoulder. Upper bicep swivel. Fantastic double jointed elbows. Look at that. Really great. And of course you have your swivels and hinges there at the wrist as well. So for ab articulation, he's got the upper ab crunch, the upper torso, but with the lower torso, which is also a ball joint diaphragm setup, you get a pretty good crunch. And you get some pretty good crunch back as well. The white spider symbol goes all the way inside, so it's not going to break anything up. And I guess, you know, if you do want to swivel him side to side, you can. And that does break up the spider symbol. But, you know, if that bothers you, you can always use the waist. There we go. And because you do have a ball joint there at the waist, it's not just side to side, but left and right tilt as well. You know, just all those nuanced poses that you want Spider-Man to get into. Really love this waist ab section setup. Okay, so we want to get Spider-Man in a black suited Spider-Man in a 4-point crouch because, you know, every Spider-Man figure, that's one of the prerequisites, at least for me anyway. If you can't get into a 4-point crouch, then it's not a Spider-Man figure. And I know a lot of figures in the past couldn't do that, but you know, this is MAFEX, so he shouldn't have any problems. And bam, there we go. 4-point crouch. Just let me fix the legs up a little bit. This is where toy articulation helps, I think. Look at that. I think the Sentinel does it a little bit better. It's got that more natural arch there at the back, but this is definitely a really good 4-point crouch as well. I'm still waiting for my Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man to get in. I really want to see how that fares compared to MAFEX, and I hear a ton of really good stuff about that figure, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's just a shame that Japan gets stuff late, but you know, really looking forward to that figure. So for your legs, Black Suited Spider-Man does have the drop-down hips, so you can extend the legs and pop off the leg. Do be careful. I'm being a little bit rough. Shouldn't be. Okay. Kicks above 90 degrees. And he can kick back as well. So you can almost do a 180 splits. That's really good. Going left and right, that's a nice spready right there. Not exactly 180, but pretty good. You have your hidden upper thigh cut. Your double jointed knees that, ooh, you can almost touch his butt, but that's pretty damn good. I like that. I'm talking like I'm playing with this figure for the first time. I'm not, but Spider-Man's feet going down that much, going up this much. You got your toe articulation, your toe hinge, and of course you have your ankle pivot. There we go. So again, if you own any of the MAFEX Spider-Mans, this is familiar territory. But if this is your first time, for me personally, this is one of the most well-balanced, well-articulated figures, Spider-Man figures, if not the best for me personally out there. So you're going to have a lot of fun with this figure. He's going to do pretty much everything you would want in a Spider-Man 6-inch figure. A lot of fun. And yeah, I'm going to have a ton of fun posing this guy up, taking photos of him later on. So yeah, awesome stuff, MAFEX. Awesome stuff. So for accessories, it's what you'd expect in a Spider-Man release, but MAFEX threw in a couple of goodies that I definitely appreciate. But let's start off with the hands. We get 2 fists, 2 relaxed open palm hands, a pair of wall crawling or splayed out hands, a set of thwipping hands, a pair of web line holding hands, and the web lines you get are the same as the ones from the original Spider-Man release, minus the one with the magnet at the end. But you could also use Venom's web lines as well, which I think match up really well with Black Suit Spider-Man. I mean, they won't go through the hands all the way, but you could definitely make it work. We also get a pair of magnetic hands and feet which they've never worked for me in the past, so I wasn't really expecting them to work this time either. But we also get this really cool web backpack, which I'm going to be using a lot. I think a lot of people have been wanting one of these for a while. It's something I remember Spider-Man using a lot in the comics and in the 90s animated series. So I'm really happy that Mafex included this little accessory. It works for pretty much any version of Mafex Spider-Man. So again, something that can be used with multiple figures. Top work, Mafex. Last but not least, we have the unmasked head, Peter with the slightly messier hairdo and a 5 o'clock shadow. The face printing itself is very sharp and clean, and I think even better than the original, which is always a good thing. Shows that Mafex are getting better at their craft. The transition from Symbiote to Peter's head on the neck is just painted, but again, it's nice and clean. But I really do like what they've done with the hair. It's a little bit messier than the original. It's got a few more strands and a nice dark brown wash to bring out all those details. You can even swap out the original head from the normal Spider-Man release, but the neck pegs and ball sockets don't fit perfectly, unfortunately. I got a bit of blue tack on here just to show you guys what it looks like. But I think that you could make it work if you wanted to use this head for, you know, the black suit Spider-Man. I mean, when you look at it like this, that friendly neighborhood smile doesn't really look so friendly neighborhood anymore. After you put it on this, you know, black suited body, it actually looks kind of sinister or kind of creepy to me, but you know, I like it. So I think in the Mafex Iron Man review, I gave more of a comparison between that and the Marvel Legends. And the reason might have been because I was a little bit more satisfied with the Marvel Legends version of classic Iron Man than I am, I guess, with the Marvel Legends version of Black Suit Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong, the Marvel Legends Symbiote Spider-Man is an incredible figure and I love it. It's still one I have on my desk that I pose around constantly, but I'm such a big Spider-Man fan, being my all-time favorite comic book character. I think when it comes to critiquing or having to choose one over the other, in this case I didn't have to, Mafex clearly takes the cake for me. Again, it comes down to my preferred proportions, the combination of having a really well sculpted figure that retains all the articulation you need for Spider-Man, including all of those points for those more subtle, refined poses. I love all the little details like the blue shading, the sculpted in definition in the heads, the blue feet, and the inclusion of the extra heads and web backpack were all cherry toppers for me. Is it perfect? No, but for me, it's close enough. I'm sure Sentinel will make a better articulated, more expressive version. I know the Marvel Legends version is a fantastic figure and can't be beat on price, but for me, right now, this is the best black suit symbiote Spider-Man in 6-inch form out there, and I can't wait for Mafex to release every costume in this body whilst keeping up with the plastic quality and making a few improvements along the way. Alright guys, that's it for me. I know there are probably a ton of other reviews of this figure out there by now, but thank you very much for sticking around and watching mine if you made it this far. I will be back with the Namek Saga Krillin this weekend, so hope to see you all back for that one too. It's a Monday here in Japan, so hope you all have a great week. Take good care of yourselves out there. Be good to your mums, and as always, yoroshiku.